the Euros 2025 is obviously fast approaching. If you didn't know that, get out from underneath your bridge. Obviously, England still have to play Portugal and Spain again in the Nations League before the tournament kicks off. But we thought it would be a really good time to reveal who we'd like to see start in England's first game of the Euros, which of course is against France on the 5th of July. Rach,
so this is what we would like. It's not a prediction.
Yep.
It's just like our preferred. So just people know we're not thinking this is going to happen. It's just what we would like if we were Sassy Veeks.
Yes, and everyone is fully fit. Just want to add some more caveats in that. Everyone's fully fit, fully available. This would be an absolute dream starting 11 based on the current squad as it stands with everyone in it. So goalkeeper, let's start with the most important position of the entire squad. The backbone.
I'll let you have this one.
Wall, the last person of defence, the person who will save your neck on the lifeline and maintain cool, calmness and composure throughout. The best position obviously is the goalkeeper. I went for Mary Earps. We did say in the last pod yesterday, is the choice of Hannah Hampton for this second game of this doubleheader. That feels to me like a big indication that Sassy Veeks is leaning at least more towards Hannah Hampton in goal for that starting 11. But I don't think Mary Earps should be ruled out. Like she said, still, 3 or 4 months left to go. But I think every time I've seen Earps play, there's a coolness, there's a composure to her, there is a maturity. She's been at major competitions. She's still at the top of her game, having a much better season than the start of the season with PSG. And she's tried and tested, and she's worked with that back four now for decades, for years and years and years. So I don't know, maybe there's a bit of bias there, but at the same time, Earpsy's the pick for me. But I feel like, Rach, you feel a little bit differently, maybe.
No, I think, like we discussed it before we came on, I had Hampton in, but I also said, I'm happy for you to put Earps in. Like I said on the last pod, I think they're both world-class keepers, and I'm not stressed about whichever one starts. I don't think that's going to be a concern. So I'm very happy for Mary Earps to be the starting goalkeeper.
Like every good podcast relationship, you have to pick your battles, and goalkeeping, I think, was Rachel's concession point for me. So
and that was it.
From now on,
that's
everything
all you
changes.
Get.
Defenders. So me and Rach have gone for Bronze, Williamson, Bright and Greenwood, which feels like the OG of the defenders of the Lionesses. I mean, Rach, why have you gone with that? I mean, it's fairly obvious. They are experienced, they have maturity, they've been at major tournaments, they know how to work together. I mean, Bright in particular would be one of my players of the season with Chelsea. I think she's been outstanding.
And I think everyone's got to go, but she was shit yesterday.
Everyone was.
This is assuming that when a major tournament comes around, they're going to be all right. And also I'm glad, I would like to have Alex Greenwood in there, because I know there's this whole thing about, should it be Greenwood and Williamson? Should it be Bright and Greenwood? Actually, I think after last night, Greenwood can do a very good job on left back. So having her on the pitch and then having someone of her quality in the left back position, I think would be good. The others, I think, speak for themselves, but I'm sure we'll be told why we're wrong.
Of course. I mean, if you do feel like we're wrong, if you do feel like you'd made a different call, please do let us know. We love being told that we're wrong. We absolutely love it. I think 100%. I think when you look at the experience between these, the amount of caps, what they can all do, I think even Bronze, we've seen so many times in major tournaments when she's been a part of the attacking line out, when you've had, Williamson being able to kind of pick apart those passes between the midfield. There's so much versatility to those four.
And Greenwood offers free kick vibes as well. So
yes, she does.
Another weapon.
And also, she's really good in the press pits as well. She's really like lovely and calming.
Speaks very well.
And you want that, you want that maturity there. Okay, so we're going to go now to the midfielders. Obviously, Jess Park replaced Ella Toone in midfield last night. I thought she had a really, really good game actually, despite everyone not really performing at their absolute best. But for us, we have gone for Walsh, Stanway and LJ. Again, this feels like a complete other row of Lionesses OGs. I mean, it's really hard to kind of...
This was hard.
Yeah, because there's a lot of choice.
For me, I feel like some of the players who started last night, what we learned from last night is that they're not starters, in my opinion. And I think the game really missed Ella Toone, who was on the bench. So for me, that midfield was hard because I was like, would we put, say, Toon or LJ? And I just think LJ on the pitch is a game changer, but I want Hemp and Mead, for example, on the wing. So keeping LJ back in that midfield row, you still get from her what you need, and you've got Ella Toon on the bench. And I just think some of those lessons, and while it's a harsh way to learn those lessons, is learning, okay, maybe you're the impact sub as opposed to the player that starts in the Euros. So that for me was missing. While Park played well, I did think the game missed Ella Toon was on the bench, for example. So I know that sounds weird because I'm putting LJ in, but LJ wasn't available last night. So I think, Walsh and Stanway, I think makes sense. And putting LJ in there in the midfield. And then you've got stacked talent on the bench. You've got, it's hard. You've got Clinton, you've got Park, you've got Toon. There's so much worry about England's midfield, and now there's a lot of potential and a lot of quality.
Well, I think, initially when I was kind of having a look at this lineup and what I do, I was toying around with Clinton dropping in. I think obviously she's had an absolutely outstanding season, both at domestic and international level. I think she's made a number of starts already with the Lionesses and has proven her worth with the Lionesses as well. I think I completely understand that we've gone for a bit more experience, I think, and also the three that we've gone, Walsh, Stanway and LJ, both offer offer completely different attacking options as well. So direct players, and I rate it. I think
the biggest concern is who steps in for Walsh, and do you then take a punt, say, with the wider team and bring in like maybe a Ruby Mace to have that option, or do
young guns, okay?
Or do we think because a lot of the other players could potentially replace each other? You add in Kirby there as well. There's a lot of quality, but maybe in that midfield selection, we need to be thinking about who would go in for Walsh if she got injured.
What would Sassy do? I'm going to make bracelets of that.
Yeah.
They're going to go viral. They won't. Okay, I think we've covered that. Let us know again if you feel like we've got the midfielders wrong, or if there's anyone else that you would choose. But actually, I think, again, I'm not to blow our own trumpets, Race, but I think we've done really well with that section. Okay, forwards. We have gone Mead, Hemp and Russo. Try and come at us for that line. Try and come at us in the comments for that, because that's spice on spice on spice for me.
I think as well, when you're factoring in, we're thinking about the first game of the Euros. The first game of the Euros is against bloody France, right? You have to start strongly. You have to start with a team.
Out all guns blazing, first half.
A team who've been in this before, rather than potentially, and I'm all for giving youth a chance, but, do you want to be putting someone in there who's like, cool, this is your first ever experience of a major tournament for a senior squad. Off you pop against France. There's so much more that these players bring in terms of experience that you can't really put a price on. So especially, look, I think Mead and Russo have shown in the last couple of games the absolute quality there. They're linking up really nicely. They're linking up really nicely at Arsenal. We're seeing more of Mead and more minutes in Mead, and she's just getting better and better. So I think the front line is not especially controversial for me. And if Hemp is back, you're putting her there. If Hemp isn't there, right, maybe LJ goes up there and you put Toon back in the midfield. Do you know, there's options, which I think is exciting. Yeah.
100%. And I think, like you said there, with the Mead and Russo partnership developing at Arsenal, we've seen that time and time again. Even Russo and Chloe Kelly, the partnership there was absolutely outstanding. That it always reminds me of that Champions League game, turning over Real Madrid's deficit to that. And what was that, a couple of weeks back? And she was just on absolute flying form. It felt like the goals were almost unstoppable for her. So yeah, I feel like Russo's actually going to be I'm not going to pick it out now, one of the standout lionesses of the Euros tournament. Touch wood, I'm touching wood. I really hope she has a great tournament.
And I think as well, what we saw last night is that, people have been calling for youngsters to start, is that when you're in difficult moments and you've less experience within that squad and less experience at that level, it's very hard to game manage and to turn things around and make changes. At that age, it's a lot to expect from young players. So that's another example of maybe why a player doesn't start necessarily in a situation. And I think when you're looking at the first game of a major tournament against top opposition, there are other things you need to factor in. If things aren't going right, do we have players on the pitch who can address it quickly and make those changes and adapt? And then you've got options off the bench, rather than potentially putting yourself in a situation where it's harder to come back from. So that's just something to consider. I know people often just think you put your best 11 out. That's simple as that, who are the best at kicking the ball. But there's a lot more to it, I think.
I think you're wrong, actually, Rachel. I think it's a lot to expect of young players to come on and make an impact. Unless, of course, you're Michelle Adjumang.
Do you know what, though? Is she the player you take a punt on?
Really? As in what? Going up front? Replacing one of these three?
No, as in like when you're thinking about the wider 23 squad, I think there's room for a player that you take a punt on.
100%.
Is that Aki Beaver-Jones? Is that Michelle Adjumang? Is it Jess Naz? Do you take Nikita Paris? Like, they're the players I think that are on the fringe, that are the potentials you take that punt on and bring. Has Michelle Adjumang just blown the door off that competition?
I mean, she's definitely taken a hinge off, I'd say. At least.
Because the thing is, arguably, yes, she's played well at Brighton, but she's not getting loads of minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But when you look at what she's doing in youth levels, it's ridiculous. So, by that logic, if it's just based on how many minutes players are playing, should she be in there? Or are you saying you're potentially missing out on the opportunity of a player like that who knows an England setup that despite not having loads of minutes at club, can have that kind of impact in front of goal? So I think it's really interesting. I think next window will be interesting to see what players are brought in. You have to factor in who's injured and might be back, and therefore will be knocking some of the others who are in that 23 out of the squad. I think it's quite exciting. It's quite interesting to see, because you need to have weapons and different types of weapons that can do different things. And you also need, not necessarily always like for like, but if you've got a player who plays a 9 a certain way and they get injured, you do need someone who can step in and fill those shoes. You equally need someone who can give something different off the bench. So it makes for a very interesting potential selection headache.
I think it's that. We'll wait and see. Obviously, there's a couple more England games left to go, and it'll be interesting to see what happens with those and whether a couple of those youngsters really start to cement their spot.